Welcome to the Lost Rewatch. I'm joined by Ralph, Karen, and Joel, and we have two interesting episodes to talk about tonight. One we're going to save Across the Sea for the second part of our discussion because that seems to be the one people either love or hate. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, seems to be the case.
Me personally, it's not an either or thing.
But because the Lost community, this was one of those episodes where people just really, probably more than what's that one with Jack? I'm drawing a blank on by Lean. Strange. I think this one's the one where people go, but anyway.
So Ralph, then what is it for you? Is it a you love it or
This is teasing later on when we talk about it. This is the whole agreement. I agreed, Jack, that I would come on the show to do this episode so that I could watch it for a second time. I've only seen it once before today.
Wow.
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
Well, ouch.
So look forward to that.
All right, let's start with what they died for. And it's kind of, I know people say Across the Sea is at a place, but there are some things that happen Across the Sea that what they died for. I mean, so who wants to start with what they died for?
I'll go ahead because I want to say that in the run order, what they died for came after Across the Sea. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the Lost Symphony by Jorge Garcia, and that took place, I want to say, like 2 or 3 days after Across the Sea aired. It was like a Friday night, and they were showing what they died for that night. So for me, I am so glad I didn't have to wait a full week to get back into the Lost characters. So that was huge. But what was fun was they told us, when we watched what they died for, they said, don't talk about the episode in the public. You guys are getting this great thing. We get to watch it all on the big screen. You'll probably never get to see Lost on the big screen again. Spoiler alert, I did with the finale. But as soon as I watched it, I jumped on, I think the Scott and Steve boards. And I was like, okay, guys, listen, everything's A-okay. If you didn't like Across the Sea, what they died for is awesome. And watching it again for the first time in probably a year, I watch Lost about once a year. This episode's awesome. It's a great penultimate episode. It sets all the pieces in place, and it has some of my favorite moments from Lost. Setting up. I think with season 6, one of my absolute favorite things, and it usually gets me misty-eyed, is when they have a flash and realize about their time on the island. And this has some of that. And
well, for me, this episode, because I had already been preaching about how things I felt like were going to sync up, that off island and on island were going to finally, they're moving closer together. And this episode was like, it's right there. So if you haven't caught on to the whole syncing thing, this episode is showing you it's all over the place.
Speaking of syncing, an issue with Across the Sea is that the episode before that with the submarine was such a huge deal that it was like jarring getting pulled away from that story. Like we had to wait 2 weeks to find out what happened after that. So that's another sort of, yeah.
We still don't know what happened to Frank at this point.
Oh, Frank.
Oh, Frank, I love Frank.
I love
you were talking about the syncing, the remembering scenes, and I noted this time when I watched through that the music that played when he was remembering the island was all like dramatic and dark, and most of those scenes have been like happy music, and like them remember. It was interesting to see because Ben's like a good guy as Dr. Linus, like a normal human, and then so when he's remembering that, it's got that dark undertone to it, just kind of remembering who he was on Island. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
And it's a great way for him to remember who he was, because we all know Ben Linus is the guy who gets punched in the face.
Right.
He's always beat up, poor guy.
Always.
Well, I do like the Alex line. Who would hit you? You're like the nicest person around.
Right.
Everybody likes you.
Right.
Come on, Alex. Wake up. Snap out of it, Alex.
Yeah. Right. I'm a big fan of season 6. I think the Flash Sideways, are we still calling it Flash Sideways?
I just call them flashes.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see them in an alternate reality where they're all pretty much like getting their ideal life.
I think it was what everybody was hoping for after season 5. That would be what was created via the bomb and all that. That it would be some sort of split thing where, it didn't happen to him here, and this might be who they were. But it obviously went further than that in this version of it.
I like you get the happy ending and the sad ending. Or not even sad, a hopeful ending. But I like that you can kind of I just there's something about Flash Sideways where everyone they're happy, but they're also like really in sync with what's like, especially Desmond. Desmond and Hurley in this episode are so awesome that like this sort of bringing people together, it's so well coordinated. And Desmond's, dealt with bouncing around in time that he kind of knows how to wield it now. When he walks
he's in the know. He's totally in the know. He knows he has a job, and his job really is to kind of wake everybody up. So he has a mission. He knows what he's doing. He's totally in the know.
But when he walks into the cell and all those guys are there, you have Sawyer, the police officer, Kate, Saeed,
Miles.
and then he's already got, Ben Linus, on the hook. So just that whole sequence with Desmond, I think I really like Desmond as being sort of the linchpin to everything. He's a great character, and I'm glad this is how they utilized him.
Well, you were saying how everyone's so happy because we talked about it last week with the 2 episodes last week, how happy Jack is, how he's Mr. Locke, and he has a great bedside manner now, and he's going the extra mile to. He's always trying to fix people, but we said when he was talking with Bernard last week, I said Bernard already knows.
Yeah.
Just his comments he made to Jack, he already knows. But yeah, Jack is like the happiest-go-lucky guy in the world.
His conversation with Locke was fantastic, where Locke is the one who said, "No, you could fix me," and Jack's like, "No, I don't think I can." It's like a total reversal, where Jack's not crazy obsessed about fixing this guy. Usually it would have been like Locke who said, "Oh, I've given up on life," and Jack being like, "No, don't give up," until the point where it's annoying. That conversation between those two was like the nicest they've ever interacted ever.
At this point, their growth is really showing. Jack is much more laid back, not so controlling, saying, so that growth is pretty obvious now. That now they're on the cusp of that change in them. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, you get to see what things could have been like. And we kind of get an inkling that it's not going to be like if they actually did land in Los Angeles like originally planned. This probably isn't how it was going to play out.
Right.
But it's a nice, fuzzy, warm feeling, though, when you get to see it.
Right.
I don't have anything else on that. And there's someone I want to talk about, but I'm like, I was going to talk about his thing on his neck.
Oh, his cut.
Like, that's the one thing where it's like, okay, something's up. Like, we saw that in the opening episode of the season, the cut, and now they're bringing it back. And so it's like, okay, that's our clue that something's not right with Jack. And I think earlier,
him being happy was something not right with Jack.
Right.
But it's also showing too. There's that sync starting to show that sync mechanism is literally bleeding through. Plus, it's also a nod to the finale of what happens with a fight. So, but it's literally a bleed through showing you that now we have that veils being lifted and things are going to line right up. It's happening in both places. So that sync is there.
Am I the only one that wanted to smack Jacob both episodes?
Oh no, he needs a smacking.
he's becoming very, maybe the word flippant.
Yeah.
That would maybe, I don't know. He just seems like he just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to say that he's the worst, but then I remembered Kate.
Did he start kind of getting this kind of attitude?
Yeah, and especially in Across the Sea, he got all, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then now it doesn't seem like he cares as much. Well, I mean, I don't know. He did at least try to change the, giving the people a choice versus it being forced on him. But was it really a choice after he manipulated them slightly to get them there? You had to touch them when they were younger.
Yeah.
Get them coming.
Well, the thing that bothered me, and I have to jump into Across the Sea for just a moment, is the Man in Black's trying to go home and get off the island, and Jacob is taught that you can't leave, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yet as soon as technically, I guess Man in Black's like not in Man in Black, his brother, so to speak, Jacob's going back and forth from the island all day long, recruiting people. So what is that nonsense? You can leave, you can't leave, but he can leave and come back and forth. So that kind of was like, right, why is he now all of a sudden special where he can do that? Or did he just break rules?
Just another reason to like Man in Black more.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jacob is probably the bad guy.
I think he is.
Yeah. He is.
He reminds me of the Jedi, just like really boring and drab. They wear the most like plain outfits. He's just in like dull clothing and kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely a bummer. But what bothered me was like when I think it was Sawyer said, "So we got to pay for your mistakes."
Right.
I had a pretty good life. No, you didn't. You were broken. I brought you. It's like okay, he's still, as you see in Cross the Sea, he's kind of immature, I guess, or naive, we could say, and he's the same guy thousands of years later. He's just
he's also sort of this guy who took everything that his mom said at her word,
right,
and followed her blindly. And she may not have been the best person to be guiding him because from the get-go, she's a stone cold murderer.
Yeah.
And she's more like Ben Linus than Ben Linus.
Out of the two brothers, you have the Man in Black was the free thinker, the one that knew that there was more, who wanted to explore more, who knew there was more for him than just this little bubble. And Jacob was just like always, well, I'm just going to stay right here because this is my little place.
Right.
So that's why it's so kind of, when I think about it, that he was, I have to stay here at the island. This is my job. My mother said it was my job, or the lady who kidnapped me anyway. But yet he found a way to go back and forth to the island because I guess he really couldn't be alone. He needed more people to be part of his misery.
Right.
Well, is that the way we see him as a child and as an adult? Is that how? Because he didn't treat Ben Linus very well, right? Can we all agree on that? So does he just not know how to treat people?
Well, what experience
Jacob's
did
not a
he have?
people
His
person.
whole life, he was basically ostracized from everybody and like, oh, those people are bad. Don't interact with them. I can't really tell you why, but just trust me.
Yeah.
To go off of Joel's Jedi analogy, Jedi also are taken when they're young children and only taught one way. And you learn in like the prequels that learning one way is not the right. It doesn't necessarily mean you're learning the right way, and that could lead you to feel suppressed, like the way Anakin did. He was.
There's
suppressed.
no balance that way. There's
Right.
no balance.
And so he's completely. He's now part of a ideology that may not be the best one, and you can tell that he struggles with it, especially with Ben, because Ben now worships him, or did worship him.
Right.
Oh, you think that's what his problem with Ben was?
I don't know. It's so hard to say because we don't really know when Across the Sea happened. The oldest we see them is at 30 years old, and we don't know how long they've been on the island in total. He could just be tired of it.
Well, I think he is tired of it, but that's what he chose to do, though.
Right. We choose stuff that we get sick of. I'm sure when you started this rewatch, you're like, oh man, what am I? After a while, you kind of get a little bit, stir crazy. And his brother, I think one of Jacob's issues is that his brother doesn't want to hang out with him. So he's got abandonment issues.
Well, I think I'm going to disagree with that.
Well, he asked him to come with. I mean, he let him play his game. He seemed to really enjoy. We're going too far into Across the Sea. Never mind.
Yeah. So is there more we want to talk about for what they died for?
So what did they die for exactly?
For Jacob, so he could disappear and be done.
Why did Son and Jin decide? Okay, neither of us go see the baby. Let's just die here together.
Yeah.
I will say this was the only time I was pretty excited to see Ana Lucia because I can't stand her. So I was pretty excited to see her show up just to get her bribery money.
Right.
I like when I was going to say Jorge when Hurley says, "Ana Lucia, do I know you?"
I didn't know she was going to be here, right? Yeah. But the thing is, and Hurley asks at that point, he says, "Isn't Ana Lucia coming with us?" And Desmond says, "No, she can't. She's not ready yet." So only people that are on the cusp of being able to become awakened or enlightened or whatever, they're the ones that are ready to go to the next level and wake up.
So she's still bitter.
Not ready.
Right?
She's still a bad chick. She's taking briberies and helping people convicts escape and everything.
It's 140,000. That's a lot of cash.
It's hard to. Shit, I totally lost it. Never mind. Continue. I had something about that. It's gone.
No, even though Ana Lucia is not the greatest, she's not my favorite character by a long shot. But there's something about knowing that we're coming to the finale, and even though there's certain characters that we didn't enjoy along the way, it is good to see old faces, and I think that's one of the great things about the finale is like it doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter what nothing matters in life except for the connections you make with people. This sort Absolutely. Of like with the whole thing with the finale. And so when you see Ana Lucia, you're like, she's a cop where she belongs, which is nice because we know that she got kicked off the force, correct?
Right.
So that she's in a better place and that she's probably going to end up being a better person in this reality. So seeing her, you're not like, oh, she's that same old garbage person. She's made choices in this life where she's a better person, still on the force. Of course, she's taking bribes. She's still obviously isn't.
Right, only technically speaking, is she a better person just because of a few situations that were presented to her. But I mean, she still has that same attitude, and
she's not a cold-blooded murderer.
No, fair enough.
I would say that. So I don't know if she's a better person, but it is a nice shorthand having her in the police outfit to say that she's in a certain place as opposed to where we saw her. She wasn't, she just didn't show up in like a leather jacket. But she
I
has some
spent-
stability in her life.
I spent a lot of time on this rewatch defending Ana Lucia, saying that, if you go back and because I think she was put in a position, and I'll say it again just to recap it, where her closest ally was Echo, and Mr. Echo, and he said, "I'm not going to talk for 40 days." Right. So who did she have? She had nobody. So anyway, I don't want to keep defending Ana Lucia. She made some mistakes, but did she kill? Who killed more people, Saeed or Ana Lucia?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I just don't like her.
I get why people don't like her, but I'm just saying.
But for you, isn't it nice for you that you can see the happiest ending that she received was she has a stable job? It's not like Jack, where he has like a wife and child, and all these other, like, where Sawyer's a detective and stuff. Like, it's not like this heightened thing. No, she's just a cop.
Just maybe she's going to get a pension at some point, but she needed that $135,000 or whatever it was in that envelope.
I mean, maybe hers is saying that she was on the right path originally, but some circumstances pushed her down that other path, and this is just kind of her getting to live maybe the one she should have done. Like how she could have had. Yeah, she was already a cop, so it makes sense for her. It's not like Sawyer, where he was a con man and now he's a cop. Like, she was already that close to having her ideal life, just one or two decisions, and she never goes to the island.
But it was nice to see that, because Desmond is the man in the know, that he knew that he could actually utilize Anna as a tool to help get his group of people to where they need to go next.
Right.
So that was things are in the works. So.
Just thought, was anybody in the tail section on Jacob's list or the White House?
Oh boy, you watched him more recently than I have.
Yeah, so I just when we were talking about this, because Joel said something about her, one or two moves she going to the island, because the tail section people probably were just meant to die, right? And because we know Bernard wasn't.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't recall offhand. Yeah.
Everybody else died pretty much before they got there. So,
but it's a thing where stuff happens where it's not supposed to. I mean, were they part of the web that led them to the ultimate finale? Could they have done everything they did without the tail section? Like, would it have been the same?
Yeah. We wouldn't have that.
Even if they were just stepping stones, even if they were just a means to an end. I don't know. Maybe it definitely would have been different if they had died.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have the analyst talk, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So do we agree that the reason that Jacob now is picking his replacement is because he's just tired of the job? Is that the consensus? He's just wants to check out, he's done. Like, he's not an old man or anything like that.
So he's dead.
Right, he's dead. He's already been killed by Ben in the pit.
Right.
But like, that's, but he's still hanging around. So I know we have to wait for the ashes to go away, because he says, I'm still, he says, I'm, when those ashes in the fire goes out, then I'll be gone. So
it's unfinished business for him, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think if he spent all that time on the island and didn't push anything forward, like didn't carry on any of the traditions that were laid down from him, I'm sure he'd feel like he failed his mom.
He's not, since he's not a physical being, can he go off the island and touch people? Probably not. So now he's stuck with this sort of final four, and who he's going to choose from these four. It may not be his first choice or his best choice, but this is who he's stuck with.
But at least, and Jack steps up. He accepts the role. He feels, I'm meant to do this. So whoever's left, it doesn't matter. Jack just jumps in and says, I'll do it.
Well, Diane in the chat said he didn't choose to protect the island. He was pretty much forced into it. I kind of agree with that, but Jacob. But he did push his brother down the. If he doesn't kill his brother, right?
Right.
Or that happened after. But he killed him after. She
No.
took him there because she set up, or she did all the stuff with Man in Black, like the village, and then came back and was hanging out with Jacob, knowing this is it for me. I got some unfinished business. I got to get pass this off. And then she went back and then he killed the brother, kind of thing.
Oh, you're right.
Because,
Right?
Okay.
yeah, because Jacob killed the Man in Black after the Man in Black killed his mom.
Right.
Right. All right.
He
Diane's right.
already accepted the job, but yeah, it's one of those things where something that I learned. I grew up Catholic, and when you turn 13, they have something called confirmation, and that's when, up until you're 13, you don't really decide if you have your baptism because you're a little baby, your first communion, and all that stuff. But when you're 13, you have confirmation. That's when you, as an adult, decide if you're going to move forward with Catholicism. And I feel like that's kind of a similar situation where his mom was telling him and guiding him and bringing him to the light to show him, and he took it. He's like, yeah, I confirm that I'm going to do that. And she did the ceremony with the water and stuff.
Right.
Man in Black did what I did and decided not to do confirmation, which is
You rebel, you.
really tough to do, because I was 13 and my whole life my parents taught me one thing, but I believed something else. And so the Man in Black did that same thing, and Jacob couldn't handle it. Well, I mean, also he killed his mom. Well, adopted mom?
Well,
Kidnapper. She's a baby napper.
Kidnap mom.
She's a baby napper.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! When I watched Across the Sea, and
Well, are we done with what they died for? We can kind of talk about them both, but
Yeah.
I think we keep going to Across the Sea, so I think we should go to Across the Sea and go from there.
yeah, I think if when it first started, and you see the woman come out of the water in the red dress,
Yeah, Claudia is her name. Claudia.
I literally said
Claudia.
out loud. Who is this lady? I had no recollection.
Oh,
of
you didn't remember? Okay.
Not at all. I'm like, wait, who?
She is the
I'm
mother.
like, I know, but I was like, is this a young?
Right. A young somebody.
Yeah, the younger version of the mom. I can't think the actress's name.
And Allison Janney.
Allison Janney. I'm like, is this supposed to be like a young Allison Janney? Because I'm like, I know Allison Janney's the mom, but who's this lady? I completely forgot.
And how did they get out?
That scene is the oldest one in like the furthest back in history that we ever get on the island. That her floating up thing.
Right.
Right.
So Allison Janney, how did they get her for this role? I mean,
I don't know, but I'm glad they did.
yeah, I'm glad they did. But was she a fan or just
I mean, if you're an actor and you get a free trip to Hawaii, or you get a paid trip to Hawaii,
Right.
it's pretty easy. And it was probably one of those things where, hey, listen, it's only going to be one episode. You're going to be here working for maybe a week and a half. I don't know how long they.
no one's going to like you.
And yeah, I mean, I remember Jorge saying it was such a big deal.
Yeah. Well, he was a huge fan.
Yeah.
I had never heard of her before this role. Then I started seeing her and everything.
I knew her from she does the voices of the Kaiser Permanente ads, and she's the voice of the robot.
The West Wing.
I don't watch West Wing.
Me neither.
I never watched West Wing, but I know her from she's the flight attendant in Star Tours. She's the robot flight attendant in Star Tours. So the next time you go on Star Tours, whenever that happens, yeah, pay close attention. But she, I think she's great, and I have my issues with this episode is the placement in the series.
Why?
Especially,
I mean, wasn't it necessary
I'm
for
curious.
holding back that stuff so
You're-
you can never guess where it was going? Sorry, I didn't cut you off.
what was the episode before it, Jack? What was
The submarine thing.
Submarine. The sub episode where
Yeah.
Everybody dies. I can't remember the.
If this came before that, I think I would have been able to swallow it better. But like coming off of that submarine episode, you're like, oh man, this is it. We're getting into the finale. Like we're setting up the finale. And then you take a sidestep. That kind of bugs me. I did mention, I think it would have been cool if they did like, I don't know if you're familiar with Watchmen and the Black Freighter. So if you read a Watchmen comic, at the end of it, there's a little snippet of a story called The Black Freighter. And if you read all 8 issues or however many issues of Watchmen, by the time you're done, you get the full story of the Black Freighter. So I think it would kind of been cool if they chopped this story up and put it either at the beginning or the end of each episode to kind of make that story arc happen over the full season.
Or could this have been the first? Could this have been the first episode of the season?
Because they did tease it at the end of season 5. I mean, but how pissed would you have been if when they came back, it wasn't, like coming in from white into the clouds or whatever, and it was instead that story? I feel like they had to hold it back as long as they could, just to keep people from guessing maybe where things were going. And I feel like they always withheld information as long as they possibly could, because you could never guess the ending without having that piece of it.
See, now I took this episode as a great nod to Locke's growth, because it's a direct correlation to Locke and his crazy mother, and him wanting to now currently get off the island, which syncs up with Man in Black's story in this particular episode. So, so for me, it fit and it worked well to where we were heading into the finale, and Locke needing to be liberated from the island.
Plus, it was just cool to see some of the stuff that they did tell you. I was always the most interested in the mythology of Lost. I mean, the characters are the core of it, obviously, but the mythology is so complex and sprawling that's the stuff I wanted more of. I would have watched a mini series about the other people that were on the island there, when Man in Black and Jacob were little kids, how they got there. You could drop me in anywhere on there, and I'd love to see what else was going on.
I think one of my main issues with this is, since it is just the one episode, it feels more like a checklist of things they want answered as opposed to a story. Like, that's the donkey wheel. That's how he became the smoke monster.
There were a few things that they shoehorned in there, like the when he was like, "Oh, well, one day you'll get to have your own game," and I don't know. There was a couple other ones where it was, "One day I'll prove I can leave." One day I'll prove I can. It was just, I don't know. It felt like it was pushing where they were going a little bit too on the nose. So yeah. I could see where you're coming from.
I just wish there was a better way they could have presented this. And I'm not saying like the Lost Web episodes, but something. I think it would have worked better, possibly, if instead of making the last episode, a 3-parter, have 2 2-parters, where we get this and one of the other episodes.
Did you need this before? Oh, are you saying put what they died for as part of the finale? Or do you think we didn't need Across the Sea before what they died for?
I would say take Across the Sea, put it before what they died for, and then double up what they died for and the end. Or just mix it up.
Whole chunk is the finale.
I feel like once you get to the submarine episode, it should just be the rest of the story straight out. So maybe just swap those 2 episodes.
Oh, so put it before the submarine one.
Yeah, put it before the submarine one.
I'm trying to think. Is there any reason it couldn't have been before that?
It's such a standalone episode that they don't have a previously on Lost before it.
Right.
Did they even do the Lost opening?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
after
it started. Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay. I love that little thing where that little flutter of music when they just switch the languages. I always thought that was neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she learned English a lot faster than Jen did. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when this episode starts off and we have the birth of the 2 babies, right off the bat, I'm brought back to my thoughts of that two halves of a whole situation, where we may see two bodies, but we're really just getting a depiction of two halves of a whole. Because of the mother admits I was obviously only picked one name, which was
Yes.
Jacob. But when both babies are born, she only wants to see him. She doesn't say
I noticed that too this
both of
time.
them. Yeah,
Right.
So that for me was like, oh my God, that we're only referencing one person from her mouth. It's only referencing one person. So again, I'm still brought to my two halves of a whole creating one being type of thing. And I see that dichotomy is really throughout this whole episode.
Yeah, I know. I talked about. Might have been with you. That was one of my theories, that Jacob and Man in Black were just the same person. But
I do like that when they showed them side by side. Jacob was wrapped in white. Man in Black was wrapped in dark. Man in Black was crying, and Jacob was calm. I don't know how they did that in the production, but I thought that was a really fun touch.
But also
needle to the foot.
yeah. But also as they're growing, they're not. Each person is not all in just all light clothes and just all dark clothes. I mean, Jacob's in a light top but a very dark bottom, and Man in Black's in a dark black shirt, but his bottoms are really almost gray, light gray. So they're not really all depicted in one solid color. Again, I'm like, well, we're getting a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and if you put it together, then you got,
Well, and who made those clothes? Probably Mother.
Of course.
She might have been pushing the "you wear black, you wear white" kind of thing.
Yeah, but still, I just the whole thing about making it pretty obvious. Obviously, I'm expecting one child. I only picked one name, and even though two babies were just born, she only asked to see him. And again, when you hear him, right? But when you hear him again, I'm brought back to Desmond meeting Locke and him saying, "Are you him?" So I get a little nod to Locke in here. And that's why I kind of feel like this was a good episode in my take on it, obviously, as going into Locke's turn of events where we get to in the finale. So that little bit of Locke nod.
Well, I still say, go ahead.
There's a lot of information in this episode that's necessary, mostly centering around the light of the island, which is great. One of my main things is, though, the series sets up the man of science versus man of faith. Me personally, I'm a man of science. I'm not so much a man of faith, and so I like that the show offered up solutions on a scientific level, but can also be construed as I don't want to say magic, but faith-based. And this episode, when it comes to the light, felt so magical and so not scientific that it kind of bummed me out. I kind of liked the ambiguity of Lost, being able for me to come up with my own conclusions. And this episode felt like it drew a hard line in the sand, saying, this is faith-based. This is more of a
the mother. The kidnapper mother. I think I referred to her as when I wrote my blog posts on it. I think I referred to her as Mother Island because I wanted her to be connected to the island. But when she introduces them to the light, she says, "And this light lives in all of us." So it's really a metaphor type.
But she said in every man,
which I know, right? But it lives in us. So
yeah, it's kind of like the Force. It seems like the Force, which I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I love the Force, but that's because Star Wars, if anything, is a fantasy film. But this, for me, I always liked Lost being a science fiction show instead of fantasy. And I felt like this episode just kind of nudged it a little bit more towards fantasy. But watching it the second time, I got to say, I didn't hate it. And anytime I do a Lost rewatch, I will definitely watch it again. But I might actually watch it before the previous episode. I might flip the order. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Did they ever discuss why they put it where they did?
I don't know.
I don't remember hearing anything
I
about
don't
it.
know. I can see it since the finale is 3 episodes, and all of your main actors are working like every single day, and it's probably a grueling shoot. That it was probably easier for them to have another episode to kind of focus on none of those main characters, because we don't get any of the main characters. We don't even get Richard Alpert. We get a flashback of Jack, Kate, and Locke.
That looks so bizarre. I swear when I watch it, it doesn't seem the same.
No, it doesn't.
Seeing that scene again feels different somehow. I don't know.
I wonder if it's different takes. Has anybody checked?
I've never compared the two.
I think it is different.
Or
Because
different angles or something? It seemed brighter in the caves.
Yeah.
Or something. But I feel like maybe from a production standpoint, that's probably why they put this here.
They
Is
may
to
have even needed more
more
time to
time.
get the next one up, or, to have time to start filming with all the other people, the main cast.
Yeah,
in
because they had 3
preparation.
episodes. They had 3 episodes playing 1 week, and so that their schedule is probably already grueling. So it probably gave them time to do that. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I know another reason why people didn't like this episode, because for the longest time people believed that Jacob was God or godlike. He was godlike. I mean, I can remember all the emails and people arguing with me and stuff that Jacob's this and Jacob's that and Jacob's this. And we find out Jacob's just a whiny little bitch. Excuse my language, but that's what
That's what he is.
He's
You
emotionally
have-
stunted adult, like he's a child still.
Yeah. Because you have Man in Black. He looks like, doesn't he look like Zac Efron?
A little bit.
Oh, the young one?
Yeah. But anyway, I was, the whole time he doesn't just go, okay, I'm just leaving you. I'm not leaving. Yeah. He goes, come on, Jacob, come with me. This and that and this. And Jacob's like, and don't tell mother about the game. She'll take it away. And of course, do you love me, Jacob? Yeah, we were playing a game. It's not my fault. I mean, he just.
But what's interesting is when she asks Jacob, well, we do find out she admits to leaving the game for Man in Black to find, or Child in Black, whatever. He who must not be named, I don't know, whatever you want to
I always
call
find
it.
Boy in Black.
Boy in Black. But anyway, so she says that she left it for him. But anyway, why would she do that? Anyway, but when
You don't think she did?
asks Jacob, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just taking his word for it. Anyway, but when she asks,
She's never lied before.
well, that's all she does is manipulate and lie. So when she asked Jacob, "Do you love me, Jacob?" You could tell he doesn't love her because he's like, yeah, it took him too long to answer, and you could see he's like, there's nothing there. There's like, nobody's
she's
home.
clearly used that over and over again as conditioning to get him to do her bidding.
Like, yeah, I'll tell you what you want to hear. Yeah, I love you, type of thing. But there's no real love there at all.
She couldn't have left the game because it probably came from somewhere else, because she'd have to admit there's something outside away from the island, because she's always saying there's nothing. He says across the sea, so she probably was lying that I left it for you here.
Right. Because at first she says there's nothing across the sea.
Yeah. The current wouldn't come in if you didn't find it and take it back out to the sea. So yeah, I never really thought about that, but she probably was lying that it was that she left it.
I like that. That's a good one. I agree with that.
She's a troublemaker. But okay, so when Boy in Black sees his mom, his Claudia, who is that?
Is it like Michael? Is it a whisper?
Yeah. Is it?
Or just an
I
outright
think it's
ghost?
that.
Yeah.
I think it's that somebody died on the island with unfinished business, the same way they explain the whispers. Yeah.
Or can Mother, like Man in Black, be take over someone?
But that caused her own problems, didn't it? Like,
Yeah,
we'll definitely come back to that later, but I don't know.
But was she doing that to manipulate, to get rid of him because she didn't want him influencing Jacob anymore?
But I don't know.
Did she do it intentionally? Because obviously Jacob couldn't see her.
Right. I think it's interesting that she presented herself. I think it's interesting. She presented herself to the man in black, or the boy in black, because, like Karen said at the beginning, she flat out rejects him. So that could be her unfinished business, is to make amends and talk to her other son.
And out of both beings, the one who had the most open mind and was the free thinker was the boy in black. So he was more receptive to things like that too. But
so he's the first Hurley, so to speak. Like, he's the first person that we know of, anyways, as far back as we can go, that could see dead people. Well,
I was going with was it Allison Janney? Is she able to transform herself into? Is she
the smoke monster?
Is she the original smoke monster? Can she do that? And because she didn't like, she knows that Boy in Black is obviously smarter than Jacob
and curious.
Does she want to get him away from Jacob? Did she do it intentionally?
Never thought of it like that. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah.
It seemed like he was her choice. It seemed like Boy in Black was the one that she was grooming for that all the way back from the year special. Sitting on the beach.
But he wasn't going to do it.
I think he might have, if she had been telling the truth, if she was actually his mother, but he had that doubt placed in him right away by, seeing his actual mom. I don't know.
But he would have left the island. He wouldn't have come back. I mean, does she have the same ability to leave that Jacob had? Could she? And so if Man in Black, if she gives, okay, Boy in Black, you got the job now. He leaves the island. He ain't coming back.
But he wouldn't have wanted to leave if she hadn't, if all those things didn't line up to where he found out that she had been lying to him his whole life. That's why he turned.
He knew she was crazy, though. Yeah, he knew she was crazy anyway. Like, he already had vibes about her not being honest all the time, and so he was picking up.
Wasn't that only after seeing his mom? Like, wasn't he just like cool with her prior to that?
Well, he was always questioning things.
Right, because he would say, "Don't tell mom because about the game because she'll take it away." Why would he feel that way unless he already was in tune with her vibe of, okay, she don't want me to have this, but she's in control of them.
Right.
So he's already privy to that.
Even when Jacob's trying to lie, what's going before the game thing, she says, "What was your brother doing?" Oh, he was looking out at the ocean, looking out at the sea.
Right.
So she, I just wonder if she knew, okay, he's not going to want to stay on this island. He's not going to stay and protect the island.
Well, he reminded me a lot of Locke then when he was going off on her, because all he wanted to know was what the hell's going on. Like, just tell me, just be straightforward with me. And it, for some reason, that made me think of Locke. Just like, come on, somebody just help me out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This episode has a lot of Locke running through it, There's a lot of Locke nods into this episode.
Because when they're adults and his mom, slams his head up against, slams his, Man in Black head up against the
30 years later, by the way, that time jump that we often get in this show.
Yeah.
Back to the 70s, and
right.
When they were doing all that time jumping, it was 30 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they threw that in there.
But the whole village, everyone's dead. The thing is all the wealth, wherever they were digging is filled up. Now, if
anybody explain that, unless she a smoke monster.
Yeah, she would have to have that kind of power.
Right.
Well, they do show a smokestack in the background as
they do.
Black is waking up. You see it, and that's what makes him run to the village.
Right.
So that nod to Black Smoke is obvious in this segment. And then everything is burned and destroyed and people are killed and everything. So she obviously is...
because how does she know because the light in
the fate worse than death thing?
Yeah, but how does she know about the keeping the light lit? How does she know everything about it if she didn't experience what Man in Black experienced?
Right. Yeah,
So,
a fate worse than death. Maybe that's how she ended up in her position. She
right.
was going after it too.
And maybe she couldn't get off the island, right? Because she's had the same punishment or same problems that Man in Black has.
Hence why she became a baby napper.
Yeah.
That's why she became a baby napper.
So who do you think finished the donkey wheel? Did the Man in Black do it?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Is he able to use it to get off the island? We don't see it, so I don't know.
No, but he was probably
when he's taking over Locke's body, he's definitely still trying to get off the island.
Right.
No, I don't think he was able to use it, but that ended up underneath the orchid, right?
Oh, the orchid, yeah.
Well,
but is that how Jacob was getting off the island?
Is what how Jacob was? Oh, using that to
Yeah.
His seemed like magic, for lack of a better term. His didn't seem like he had to go and get involved in all the stuff because all that stuff is man-made stuff, and he feels kind of above that and removed from that. So I don't know that he would go, okay, I'm going to go use my brother's portal.
Yeah.
Now I see him doing like a.
But that thing was even hidden until you were
You need to see it. Yeah.
Until it's convenient.
Right.
Now I think he pulls more of an I Dream of Jeannie way off the island, on and off the island, Just go.
Yeah, but they never answer that, so it's up for us to debate. But I think
only Diane's thought that she summoned the smoke monster. That could be.
So it would have already existed. So then would it be then absorbing Man in Black's soul into that thing? You know what I mean? Like, was it already a thing going around and it's been collecting for a while, and then it doesn't feel like it ever collected anymore beyond that. I don't know why I keep using that word collected, but I'm trying to, I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't feel like that's what it was going for. Like it was always trying to add new people to its repertoire. It just needed somebody to be dead, and then it could be them.
Right.
And there is that one scene where we think, where is season 4, where we think Ben summons the smoke monster.
Well, what's interesting is in What They Died For, Ben actually says, I think it's What They Died For, he says to Richard and Miles, I think it is, or whatever, that, this is where I summon the monster, although I realized that I wasn't summoning it, it was summoning me.
Right.
So we kind of get that, we get that clarification that you don't summon it, it summons you. So that tidbit comes out after.
And this may sound really stupid, but I don't know how it took me until watching this episode this time to realize that that's why the compasses act weird, because of the electromagnetism on the island. I don't know why that never occurred to me that was the problem, why they would not point in the right direction.
Right.
But it finally kicked in after however many years, 14 years.
Well, so this rewatch helped you out.
Right, it absolutely did. Also, the same thing with the knife. I didn't realize that was the same knife that he used to kill Mother that they gave to Saeed to try to kill Man and Locke, because if it killed the Mother, it should kill him, but it wasn't really him anymore.
And he killed her before she could speak, right?
I think so.
That was what he had. He was supposed to do that, yeah.
Yeah. Then he felt bad. Here's this bad guy.
Do you think that there's actually something to that if she had said something, he couldn't have killed her? Or that she would have talked her way out of it? But she didn't. She wanted him to do that. That's why she was doing the little mopey parade there with Jacob. And I never noticed how rough she looked in that last 30 years later bit. Like, she looks the same age, but she looks rough. Like, she's just like, I'm done
tired of
with
this.
all this crap. This sewing or whatever, needle point.
Well, that's why I'm saying she had. Well, obviously she had what but was she Smokey? Did she have powers? Even
I
like
can't explain that thing any other way. Like how that stuff happened, that hole being filled in so quickly, because she was back before nighttime, and
right.
she knocked him out during the day, and it was still
And
daylight.
she knocked
and
him
he woke
down.
up.
She knocked him down. She knocked him out underground, down in the
Somebody
well.
had to
How
lift
did
him out of there.
He's up,
Lift him
right.
out.
Yeah,
You
I was
know,
thinking
so
that
how'd she get him
Jacob
out
had
of
to
there?
carry them really like that. Jacob's foot thing must be, or wherever he was staying with Mother, must be really close to the caves, because he had to carry those bodies. It's not like he had a cart that he threw them in; like he had to carry them. So it couldn't have been like he hiked for 3 days to get there.
Or they have superhuman strength because when Jacob, after Man in Black kills his mom, Jacob's beating the crap out of him.
He did that when they were kids.
That's true, but he's dragging him through. He's dragging him, to the light, the tunnel light, the light of the tunnel, and it's not any effort at all for him.
I remember hearing about the filming where they said that they were busting the crap out of their toes while they were filming that scene, because they had cut down a bunch of the bamboo or whatever, and so they were kicking it with their toes and just making their toes all bleed while they were filming those scenes.
Oh, so they're in their paycheck,
right?
Toe boots.
Now I thought maybe Mother carried him up out of the well, because remember when Saeed gets caught in Rousseau's trap, and I'm like, how did she get him out of the trap and then carry him all the way back to her little lair? That like these women are like super strong. What's going on?
And he wasn't even near the hole. Like he was by the hole, by the well, and then he ran to their village. That's what it was.
Right.
So she popped him out.
Yeah, because he sees the black smoke when he wakes up. Yeah, he sees the black smoke when he wakes up, and then he realizes, the village is on fire and everybody is gone.
So
there were other skeletons down near the source in the finale, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Like I remember when they went down there was at least another skeleton or two down there.
Yeah.
So why didn't those become smoke monsters? And how did they get there? Jacob must have taken them there, unless they were there from Mother's time. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really make sense how another body ended up down there. They get spit out if they get thrown down, right?
Was that Claudia? Was that? Did she throw her? I mean, I don't know.
I guess we don't know what they did with her. We don't know what she did with her body, but kill her and throw her down into the source of all the light in the world.
She just kept smacked. She just kept crushing her skull with the rock over and over again.
I don't know. I was just thinking about, like, how did those other skeletons get down there? Because it seems like even with Jack, you get flushed out the other side and end up where Man in Black was left laying dead.
Well, can we assume that a few men found the light and tried to go down there so that they can take more? Because that's part of Mother's story she told about the light.
But didn't they have to let them?
If they find out where it is.
Well, didn't it have to be found because didn't Man in Black say he spent 30 years trying to find it?
Trying to find it again, or find a way to get to it. Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm saying. Like that somebody that was in charge at some point had to bring somebody there to then fall down the well and die. And why didn't they become the smoke monster too? I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it before. I don't have an answer.
Thanks. More questions.
Right. Exactly.
So overall, Ralph, you like the episode now? You just don't like the placement.
I think the episode's fine. I still don't like that it skews towards faith-based as opposed to science-based. And yeah, I think seeing it again, I definitely didn't hate it as much as I did 12 years ago. When did this show end? 2010?
You didn't feel like you were missing any information when you watched it through again without it?
Well, the thing is, I remember kind of what happened the first time around. So I knew the key things that I needed to remember, like the heart of the island and Man in Black's relationship to Jacob, and sort of I remember Alice and Janney being there and stuff, so I kind of knew a little bit of their backstory. But there's like big broad strokes that I don't remember. I didn't remember the actual mom at all.
Well, do you remember that at the end of this episode that the two skeletons with the two dead bodies are put in the same alcove, except when we meet them in the beginning in season 1, they're in 2 separate alcoves. They're not together. They're in 2 separate.
They walking skeletons?
So is it really the same time, you know?
Maybe Man in Black.
How those other skeletons got in the thing. Source.
Caleb says talk more about Juliet.
Yeah, no Juliet. No Juliet in either episode.
No.
And the one of the things that gets me every single time is Juliet reuniting with Sawyer in the Flash sideways. That scene is amazing. So yeah, Juliet and Sawyer is my favorite couple. I'm not really a shipper, but I do like
wait, hold on. You pretty much sound like a shipper there.
Well, I guess I'm a shipper for those two. Yeah, I'm a shipper.
Wasn't that somebody hoping they'll get together? They did. Like, you're not a shipper anymore if it's something that happened, right?
I thought the
it was one of those things where they were such the opposite characters, and having them to come together made sense.
Well, they were good for each other.
Yeah, it made him better, and it made her a little.
Even though Juliet deserved to die. I'm just joking. I just want to see Caleb's reaction in the chat.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Caleb's going to be very upset. See, I loved this episode, of course, because I felt like the two halves of a whole thing was prominent. Again, nods to Locke and where Locke's growth is going to, and I felt that it was a lead into the finale and to what they died for, and it kind of flowed that the enlightenment and the awakening is they're on the cusp of that. They are having this spiritual growth of learning to let go, learning to, again, we're dealing with a mother in this episode who was insane. She was a murderer, baby napper, and a manipulator. So Locke's mother was crazy too. So, you know, we have a lot of that there, but the growth is there. The need to say, I'm done with feeling this way. I can get off this little island now. I don't need to be here anymore. I can learn to let it go. And I can, I'm going to start singing Ralph, Let It Go. Cause Disney, no, just, the whole growth of learning to move on and let go and forgive and all that is told to us in a very ancient story about why people land where they land, but how can they get out of it?
I love this episode. It felt like exactly what I was expecting from the final season. Like I needed some of that stuff. Like I said, the mythology stuff, the blips in time. That season 5 was my favorite because it showed you literally like all those things that were going on the island. But for anything that, maybe the stuff at the temple wasn't the greatest, I will recommend watching it in Chronologically Lost. I do that every time I mention it. It's great in Chronologically Lost. The temple stuff flies right by, and it's interesting. I don't know how they made it less interesting the normal way. But for anything that felt like it was a shortcoming, I felt like the Richard Alpert episode and this one was the stuff that I desperately needed from this season of the show.
I was jazzed just by finding out about the Senate game. I remember the Senate. I had to research all about Senate. I had to find out how does that game even connect. We know we have people playing a game, yes, but I had to learn all about Senate.
You ended up learning a bunch about
where did it come from? How old is it? Yeah, it made you crazed, but I still found so much food in this that I craved to investigate and learn more about it, and that was very fun.
Well, you said earlier, Joel. Go ahead, Rob.
I think for the most part, it's all information that is good to have, and it's all information that I wanted to see. I just think the presentation wasn't what I was looking for.
Where did you feel like it crossed the line from what you were accepting from the show sci-fi wise to magic-y faith stuff?
Well, one of the things is Comic-Con 2005 was the first time I went, and there was the panel. Dim and Lindelof said that there is a scientific explanation for the smoke monster, because I think somebody asked about nanobites.
Yeah, that was a big theory.
Yeah, I had this sort of kind of in my brain, and I guess it's my own fault for deciding what the story is before they presented it to me as being a scientific thing created, and it wasn't a scientific thing created. It was something that came out of this light, which for me, I mean, I can be okay with healing powers of magnets because I know there's some sort of possible truth behind that. I don't know. But the fact that it's just like, I found it really hard because I wanted to know what the source of the light was. We have no idea. It's just a light. So we don't get to really peek behind the curtain of what's going on. We're just told to believe in this light and believe that this light created the smoke monster when the Man in Black went in. And so
at least you can see it. At least you can see it and know that it's there.
They're treating us like Jacob. Is that what you're saying? We're just supposed to accept it?
Yeah. I'm very...
There was a bunch of stuff like that in this show where it's like, would a more direct answer have made you happier, you think? And like, what could that have been?
I would have been fine with no answer. I don't mind
not seeing how it was made. You would have been happier with not having seen Man in Black get thrown down there and not know anything about where the smoke monster came from. I feel like it was enough.
I grew up. I'm going to go back to Star Wars. I grew up watching the original trilogy. I was born in '77, and we only got a very little bit. Yeah, we only got a very little bit of Boba Fett. And Boba Fett was the coolest dude. And everybody wanted to know, what's Boba Fett's origin story? And then 20 years later, we got it. And it was like, you know what? I think I would have been better off not knowing Boba Fett's origin story. And I feel that same way about like the smoke monster. I had already accepted it. I didn't need to see how it got made. Because
it took away from it?
I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't watched this episode again, is because I'm trying to like bury kind of that sort of thing. I'd rather just be the smoke monster specifically to be this thing that exists in nature. I mean, we're discovering stuff in nature that, you know, there's crazy sea life that hasn't been discovered yet, like bioluminescence. There's there's like lakes in the ocean underwater where there's like a dense liquid that's heavier than seawater, and it literally looks like a lake underwater. So there's weird things in nature. So I was completely accepting that this was a creature. Now the fact that it scans your people's thoughts and can project images of people, I'm like, okay, that sounds like nanobots. Or if you look at like those crazy if you look at those drone displays where they make different pictures out of the lights that are on drones and stuff, like they kind of did it with Spider-Man Far From Home, where Mysterio is a cloud of nanobots but can project things. I was accepting of my headcanon, my version of what Smoke Monster was. So I didn't really need to see what it was. But the problem with Lost is everybody wanted to know the answers to everything. And so they had to come up with something. And I just, for me personally, wasn't satisfied with what they went with.
I kind of agree with you, but I think they had to come up with something because
they had to.
When Locke says, we know everyone else was killed. We saw it kill the pilot. We see, is chasing people. We don't know what this damn thing is. But then when it approaches Locke says, "Oh, it was beautiful. It was most beautiful." So we had to, from that point on, we had to have some kind of answer.
Right.
And I was okay with it because it shows that it worked out that he was that he was this is the guy I can manipulate. This is the guy that this is my what they call it, my loophole. This guy's so gullible, I can use him. I can get off the island.
All right.
So they had, I don't know if they had that idea the whole time.
I still can't understand how they did the time loop thing with him telling him he had to die. Like, that whole thing still doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh.
With Man in Black telling Richard to go tell he didn't die yet, and I don't know, weird.
Now let me ask you guys this thing, because
Team Man in Black, by the way, for whoever asked that, Caleb. I think.
Caleb, Team Man in Black, Man in Black.
Team Anakin.
When we talked about the what they died for and Desmond, so what do you guys feel about Desmond and his role at this point as we're at the end? So is it that he does have his sense of knowing? Is it something different? Is it because he can get shocked with a bazillion volts of something? Like, what is your take about what Desmond's role is at this point, and how did he get there? What makes Desmond so special? He's the one to ferry people to this next step.
Do you think that would have happened to whoever turned the failsafe key? Like, do you think that was the thing that made Desmond able to withstand it, or it was just coincidence that he's the one who turned the key and happened to be able to withstand it?
I don't know.
I don't.
Was he brought there specifically for that purpose?
Well, he went to the island he went there because he was trying to prove Widmore. He wanted to, prove to Widmore he was worthy. So he set himself on that path to get to the island.
But Widmore,
did he set the course? Because he could have literally sent him there for that reason, but he would have had to know.
I feel like Widmore sent him there because he knew if he went there,
he couldn't be with Penny.
He'd come back and be with Penny, exactly.
Yeah, I believe that also, because the boat was given to him by Libby, and so I always assumed that Libby knew what it was all set up. I think that that boat was set to go to the island.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that what's funny is it bit Widmore in the ass. I think Widmore was trying to get rid of him, and the island accepted Desmond and used him against Widmore.
Right.
By giving him these powers and from turning the failsafe key to gaining his powers to jump through time, and also
because the island doesn't like Widmore, right?
Right. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah.
Where you saying?
I said this turning the failsafe key was Desmond's being bit by a radioactive spider origin story.
Right.
Like, that's how he became able to do that stuff. I'm assuming, anyways. Otherwise, it's pretty coincidental that it's the one guy. But the island gets what it wants, so to speak. So maybe it manipulated it for that reason. Who knows?
Yeah. And Faraday's the one that's there to help guide him into using these powers.
Favorite character, Faraday.
Yeah, I love Faraday.
Of course, you needed Locke to lose his faith in order for him to have to turn this failsafe key.
Right. I don't know. None of it's coincidence.
I did want to say something that, Joel, you were talking about earlier. You'd like to see more of the the people that were on the huts. I think you were talking about the people that Man in Black went to live with as a kid. Right. I've always said that I wish that they would do, once a year you have like a mini series.
8 episodes. Give me 8 episodes on setting Dharma at a certain time period.
Exactly. People love that. But I would like to know how did Mother get there? What was she, female in black, or whatever you want to call it?
Right.
How's her? What happened before?
Female in black.
Any question will just lead to more questions. That was the most annoying line of dialogue.
Female in black. FIB. Fib. Lying.
Oh, nice.
Lie to.
Nice.
There's a script right there. There's a script right there.
Yeah, honestly, they could jump in all over the place in this show and do little They could do stuff. I mean, take us to Ann Arbor. Why did we never get that? You know, the Dharma headquarters off the island, like any number of things. You could just follow an intern at Dharma.
And they don't need to reboot this Lost. They don't need to.
But Faraday could pop in if it was in the 70s. You know what I mean? Like they could have that kind of tie-in. We
could have Juliet back for Caleb. That would be,
do a whole series of Across the Seas, where you're just an anthology series taking place in different eras,
right?
Kind of bringing some stuff together. I think like the Watchmen.
Could we all get paid for our script ideas now that we're tossing them out there?
Well, Joel, you mentioned Abaturno. It's one of the best, one of my favorite episodes of the series. And it was, like I said, we needed that. I think you said it, Karen. We needed that. That would be perfect. I mean, people, and I think Across the Sea, if it was done, if they did Across the Sea now, people go, "Oh, I love it. I love this episode. It gave me some answers." This is what ABC should be doing. I think ABC could make a killing on this because there's.
How are they not using this for anything? They don't merchandise it. They don't promote. I don't know. It's crazy to me. There's no Lost. There's no hatch in Disney World. I mean, come on, give me the hatch.
Because it's not Star Wars or Marvel. Why aren't they using the Muppets? You know, like it's not Star Wars or Marvel.
But look we're still talking about this show. Like you said, Ralph, it's been,
and we have great ideas to keep it growing.
So why don't to me?
I mean, I was over it. Been a no-brainer. But then when however many months later I watched The New Man in Charge, I was like, why did you just give me more crack? You know, like at the end of it, I'm just like, I'm hooked again. What are you doing?
ABC, you got to call us. Brian brought up a good point. Yeah. Brian brought up a good point. He said, a guy who calls everyone brother is the shepherd of the flock. That's a nice way to think of that.
Brian never
with
has
Desmond.
But isn't Jack the shepherd? Or Christian?
His actual name is Shepherd, yeah.
His name is Shepherd, but that doesn't mean he did the actual shepherding. But it's a good, really, when we get to the end, the person who actually helped them get over to that next point is Desmond. Some of them.
Diane says popular viewpoint is the ending killed Lost, which is unfortunate, but people who have never seen it just think it isn't good because of the ending.
This isn't Dexter or Game of Thrones. The ending of Lost was great.
Yeah, it's not even close to Dexter. Yeah, and they're bringing Dexter back.
I mean, if they retcon it and go back to it's the day after Rita died, I'm cool with it. Fix it, but the rest of the stuff just
yeah.
I could go on.
See, now I'm not gonna watch Dexter now until they give me the new ending because Jack, you told me I'm not gonna like the original ending, so I might as well wait for them to have the new ending.
It's that whole season is. I remember my wife and I watching, going, "My God, this is terrible." I mean, but we had gone this far, and I said,
I was making it through to the end.
That's my new rule. I call it my Dexter rule. I don't have to finish a show if it starts going crappy. And I've done that.
Right
I'm not wasting my time. There's more stuff to watch.
Yep.
But
I'll watch Lost over and over though.
But ABC should do Dharma. Should do an 8-part thing on Dharma and all the Ann Arbor and all that.
I know why you want that to happen.
Call me ABC.
So they can cast Rosa Bernard.
Yeah, so we can see Rose and Bernard. We're actually there working for Dharma.
Right.
In fact, they don't even have to pay me, but I'll help write that part of the script.
But you could go back to any of the people that were there that were kind of side characters, like a Rose and Bernard, and potentially show stuff. I mean, maybe not now. It's been 10, 15 years, but with some of the people, you could show what they were doing when other stuff was going on. And that might even be interesting I mean, it wouldn't be super exciting, but seeing how they set up their cabin and all that stuff. And you could do little bits and pieces here and there and just fill it in a little more. And I don't think anything else they could do would detract from the show as it is now.
To me, it's a no-brainer. It's you put it on the Disney Channel or Disney Plus, or don't they own Hulu too?
Animated, I don't care. Do something. Animated Dharma, I'm fine with that.
Disney Plus series.
Anyway. Okay. I think is that it? That's all we got?
That's all I have.
All the notes I got. Yeah, I loved the episode. It's one of my favorites. And what they died for was great too. And at the end of it, I'm just like, okay, now I have to watch the rest. I got to watch the finale. I didn't, but
Before we go, I want to tell. I've decided what I'm going to do is the Sunday after the Super Bowl, I'm going to do a finale.
What's a Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's a thing with football. And what I'm going to do is have like maybe 3 or 4 hours where anybody who was on this before, we come in and we just talk about the series, the finale, and all that different stuff. And
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
oh, I thought he was like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I got to get going.
Okay. Well, thanks, Ralph, for joining us. But that's the plan. I'll send out information. But anybody who was on this, I think I can have 10 people on here at a time, and just every hour, just refresh, and just people can talk, and we can have the final rewatch be all about
36-hour rewatch or 36-hour finale episode.
Yeah, I hope not. But
Can I bring wine?
Sure.
Can I have a
People-
glass of-
you can drink and do whatever you want.
Count me in. I'll see you then. I have to split now. I have something going on, but
Ralph, thank you.
Jack, thank you for inviting me every single time.
Thanks for
Show
joining
is
us.
awesome. I love Lost. I love Crazy Hank TV, and every Lost fan out there. It's Lost is the best fandom out there. There's the general public will always say, "Oh, the Lost finale was stupid" or whatever they want to say. They're not Lost fans. Lost fans are us and people who understand the meaning behind the finale and the meaning of the whole journey. And there are no greater fans than Lost fans. So
That's
thank you.
right.
I agree 100%.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you. All right. I'll see you. I'll
Thanks,
see you
Ralph.
after the Super Bowl.
All right.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Diane asked, she's not a football fan. I think it's the first week of February, the Super Bowl. So first Sunday and whatever it is. So I'll put out I was going to look it up and I forgot, but I know the Super Bowl is in February. And so
I think I know why Lost fans are like that. Fandom is the best because you had to be discerning and you had to be able to absorb everything you were taking. So it sounds snooty, but there's like an intellect. You have to be able to process what you're seeing to get it. You can't just pop in and out. You can't just go, I heard the ending sucked. You got to watch the whole thing and interpret
It's
it.
a journey you have to actually go on and
Right.
and let the story unfold just as it unfolds for the actual castaways, and you take that journey with them. But as the viewer, the outsider, the observer, we're just sucking in all that information, and it was just.
I think
I'd love to
another
have
thing
that experience again.
Another thing that made the Lost community so good, it's such a great community, is that we had to work together. Because there was times like, look, we're talking about this. We still don't know what happened. We're like, okay, this could have been this. We had to work together. It was like, all right.
We don't have all the answers, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was a collective like group think of or think tank of like, well, what about this? Oh, that could mean something. What about this?
Yeah.
And then connecting dots and
And we all geeked out over it. It was like, oh my God, this is it's seriously, it's the best community I've ever been. Because I can remember going to Comic-Con, waiting in those damn lines, especially towards the end, to see the panel the next day. And I'm there at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and there, of course, there are people there who'd been camping out for 2 days, and and people, nobody's getting any sleep. People are hungry. People are tired, and nobody's taking cuts. Nobody's fighting. You couldn't get that anywhere. You get people wait in line for an hour, for a movie, and they're fighting in line. So anyway.
And just talking about Lost, this being online,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just constant dialogue about Lost. And no idea was a bad idea, and no input was too off the wall. And it was just, how do we find our way and navigate the path with everybody else? And it's just, let's have fun doing it.
I still think that there's a moment in a show where like you're at the peak moment of a show, and I think for Lost it was the finale of season 5, and I don't think that season 6 was bad by any stretch. I just think at that moment the possibilities were endless of where it could go.
Right.
Like Game of Thrones, around the end of season 6, it was like, oh my God, imagine if this happened, you're so excited, but eventually it was going to happen, and whatever then happened, and that took something away from it, where I loved that being part of it as it was going on, because you're like, anything could be, and you couldn't go online and get spoiled by it, or you know what I mean, go looking up something.
Right.
Well, what happened after this, and then find out. I don't know. There was something magical about that, and being in
I loved
season 5.
I loved being that part of my life. I loved the friends I made, and I loved being part of, the ODI podcast, and I loved being involved in just everything about it. I miss that whole. It was very exciting. It was like 6 years of total excitement and waiting for the next episode that everybody was going to talk about or write about, or and we just all had a lot of fun together. And
it was, like you said, a lot of friends, and there's friends worldwide. That just, to me, it's just, I still talk to people that I've never actually met, but I talk to them on Facebook or something like that. It's just incredible. But I forgot to say something. I was watching the Across the Sea, and my wife looks over and goes, because she watched it once all the way through, and she kind of got a raw deal because Jay and I said, you can't talk, you got to be quiet, we got to take notes. And but I'm watching Across the Sea. She goes, what are you watching? And I go, Across the Sea. She goes, what show is that? And I go, because she didn't remember it. And she goes, what is Allison Janney doing? Because she loves Allison Janney. She goes, I go, it's Lost. She goes, well, who are these people? I go, I'll tell you afterwards. I can't
explain.
I got to finish watching this, but she was like completely confused because there's no Lost characters on there.
Right, and it was very unlost-like until you
right.
got absorbed into it, and you realize, oh my God, we need all this information. But still, I don't know. I loved it. I loved that.
Give me a season of that stuff. Just I'll take it all day, every day.
And all the stuff with the ancient stuff and old times, and
I want to see the building of the statue, and I want to know all the things about the island and its history and how it began. Is it a religious kind of a thing where it's like, oh, it was put here and it is the light and everybody, or is it a science?
Yeah, whatever. Just tell us. Yeah.
Something. I just want to see how the island came to be. And because presumably there had to be some deity before Jacob and Man in Black and Mother, or not Man in Black, but
but it's just I've always wanted to know more about that. And
do you think there's anything they could ever do that occurred after Lost ended? Like, do you think that Jorge Garcia and Michael Emerson would be willing to, or Walt would be willing to do something, post? When they were in charge of the island kind of thing?
Well, I know a lot of people have said that they should have the offspring be on the island running it, like Jiyoung, Aaron.
But why would they have any connection to that? That wasn't important.
I still want the origins of the Dharma Initiative. Yeah. I still want the origins of the Dharma Initiative. Tell me about go back to the early 70s or whenever the Dharma Initiative was starting, and they were going on the island.
Go to the Hanzo Foundation.
Yes, give me all of that, the researchers on why they picked certain hatches to do certain jobs and what was the goal. I mean, tell me, there's so much we can learn from that group of people, But there's a universe of stories that could be told.
Do we know how Dharma found the island?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember what Eloise says. She just, I'm trying to play Eloise's dialogue in my head. And that's how they found the island. Okay, I can't get the line before she says that, though. And that's how it's because the island was constantly moving, and that's how they found the island.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Wasn't that in the, didn't she say that in the lamppost station? Was she talking about that?
Yes, I think so. She was,
Because the island's constantly moving. How did they keep
it's constantly moving.
Wasn't that the whole Valenzetti equation thing? Like from the Lost Online stuff where they were talking about that's how they keep numbers, and I've gone and the vendors so I go and watch that Rachel Blake stuff where it was the Lost alternate realities.
I remember all that stuff,
because she was filming.
The Army found it.
Richard Alpert Widmore at one of those facilities. The Army found it. Okay.
1954. That's right.
Did we ever find out why they brought the bomb there? Were they going to just do like nuclear testing? You think?
I thought it was testing. The Army was going to do some nuclear testing.
Okay.
Every question only leads to more questions.
Oh yeah, that's what podcast is.
But that's why.
I know that. That's right.
Well, why we get season six, we see the island underwater. See, I think
see more of that stuff.
I think the island did sink, and it healed itself, and it came back up.
Do you think that actually happened?
I think that's what happened. I think that's what they were showing. I think that's what they want us to believe. Maybe.
They pulled up out of it into them in the sideways.
Yeah,
like they showed it was under, or no, they went down into underwater from
right.
the sideways. So that was all not. I hate to say not real, but you know what I mean. Like not.
Yeah, I just
during their life, if that's easier.
I've always thought because you see that underwater, you know, because the all the lawsuits end up somewhere else. You have Kate up in a tree. You have all these. Did they come back?
That could have been that
explosion.
The topography changed where they were at, and by the time they're back 30 years later, a tree had grown there. That's true, all. Yeah. Well, unless the bomb didn't go off.
Yeah.
We were still never clear on whether the bomb actually went off. Because that would have taken out most of the island, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it have done exactly what we saw? The island being at the bottom of the ocean?
Right.
But maybe it mixed, I don't know, maybe that mixed with the electromagnetism that was there at the Swan Hatch. Who knows? Maybe they just sent them all forward in time, but why only them? I could go on forever.
Well, maybe we should listen to Mother. You know, one question only, like you guys said earlier, only one question leads to it.
But we have questions. We have so many questions.
But that felt like a cop-out at the time, honestly. I'm like, oh, come on, really? You can't just answer 10? Give me 10 questions. How long is that going to take? An hour? You got nothing but time. You're going to live forever.
Exactly. Well, she
not entertain casual conversation.
But she knew that she wasn't. Was it Claudia wasn't going to live forever?
Right, but how long has she been there by herself? She didn't want a little bit of a dialogue. I mean, just someone to talk to. Like you will believe all this stuff that's going on here. I'll kill you when we're done. But
I think she knew. I think she knew.
A best friend for a week, like a little. You're my best friend montage with them walking down the beach.
And now I got to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just and then kills her.
Watch out for falling rocks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh my God, that's funny. I think that's all I got.
I can't top that.
No. Well, this was fun. A lot of fun. I thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat. Again, I'll post something to let you guys know when, and I'll get back with all you guys about the finale, and it'll be wrapped up. But again, thanks for joining us. Joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving me everything to talk about Lost. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.